I want to tell you what this session is actually about because I feel like the title doesn't do it justice. So, check-ins, reviews, cadence management. On paper, it's probably the least exciting session in the series, but it is a really important concept to consider implementing and start to talk about best practices and practice management on how to get it accomplished. Amazon. So Amazon knows what you were looking at 3 weeks ago. So they sent you an email about it on Tuesday. Your dentist texted you 48 hours before your appointment and again the morning of. Netflix noticed you stopped watching something in episode 4 and asked if you wanted to continue. These companies have built multi-billion-dollar businesses on a single insight. Showing up before you ask to is the whole game. And as an industry, we're kind of guilty of sending like a quarterly report or their financial plan after a review and call it a relationship. So that is the gap that this session closes. And Vanguard just published research on this that 86% of advised clients said that what they value most from their advisor isn't returns, it's peace of mind. So that feeling that someone's watching, that someone already knows, that they don't have to make the call because the call is already coming. 9 out of 10 investors say that the frequency of advisor communication plays a direct role of whether they stay and whether they refer. So, a lot of the times we think it's performance and fees, but it's really how often you show up. So what we built today is a system that's going to help make that more automatic, more implementable. And, we'll talk about some ways to get it implemented as easy as possible. So we're going to go ahead and open up the system. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, you should be able to see PreciseFP right now. And for this first part, we're going to be building a 3-month check-in. So I hope that everyone has their guide open as well. I will paste this into the chat because this is going to have all of the prompts that we're going to cover today, as well as some emails that would be helpful as well. Let me see. Let me send this in to the chat. Just one moment. All right. So everyone go ahead and click on that link, and I'll start from the top as well with you, assuming we're all opening the link together. If we go toward the middle of the page, there is going to be an accordion here. And believe it or not, we are already on session 4. So go down to session 4, and this will pop open all of the prompts that we plan to cover today. And the first one we're going to talk about is this 3-month check-in. So I love this button here. You can choose copy prompt, and that will have it there for you. So we'll go ahead and open up the AI template builder next. And to do that, we'll go back to PreciseFP. We'll go to templates on the left and choose on my templates. So go to the paper icon on the left and choose my templates. And I love this session because we are building everything from scratch today. So if you click on that plus sign, choose generate using AI, and go ahead and paste that prompt in for that 3-month check-in. So I'm going to go ahead and choose create template here and talk through a lot of this. So just think about what happens when you leave a good physical therapist appointment. They don't just hand you a pamphlet and say, see you in a year. They kind of give you a program and they check in with you to see if those exercises are working and to catch the thing that's going wrong before it causes an injury. So that's our 3-month check-in. So you just onboarded this client. they signed, they handed you their whole financial life, and for the next 90 days, they're quietly asking this one question of, did I make the right decision? And a form that's going to show up right on schedule is going to feel warm. It takes 2 minutes, gets a fast response. And when something is flagged, it does more for your retention at this stage than at a quarterly or like an annual review. So it allows the client to flag things for you before you think about it. And I'll go ahead and regenerate that. One moment. And the idea here is to maybe delegate some of this. So the front end work that we're talking about is to build this form using the prompt and then personalize it. We've had many sessions about personalizing these forms once they're created. And then you'll notice in the prompt guide, there are also sample emails that you can use as well. So here is just a sample email that's briefly saying, I just wanted to check in, that you could consider using and customizing even further. And then just decide who's going to send it. So it's more than likely going to be an operations task, not an advisor task. And you might want to complement this with your CRM and start to build out these cadences where, every 3 months we're going to send this email or this engagement to check on the progress. And then it'll kind of automatically go into motion once once your team gets used to it, it'll kind of just be a muscle memory from there. And I always get the question, the practice management question of how can you possibly roll this out to an existing book of business? And what I always suggest is to start today, and then you'll be caught up in a year. So if you start this process today and, as they come in for a review, you implement these check-ins, then within a year, you'll be caught up. And you might even want to use segmentation to implement this even further, where maybe you start with your A clients, your top 20%, you send them this new cadence, and then your B clients will only get check-ins every 6 months and the annual review. C clients, annual review only. So then within the 12 months, every client in your book has been reached out to at least once. And you're running the cadence, not catching up on it if you do start today and get caught up in the year. And it's the data that you're going to get is going to get richer with each cycle. So, you might just see that, it's just brief data that you're collecting in the beginning. But as you hyper personalize those questions, the forms will get smarter the longer you run it. So you'll notice here, and I'll preview this out, and same thing, you'll want to go ahead and check on the output that AI has created to make sure that you like what it created, and you might want to delete things or add things. Just depends on what you see with each output. And I see someone needs the link again. I'll go ahead and paste that in. And yes, I do have the link to the Vanguard report. I will go ahead and send that as well. And the name of the check-in template we're using right now is the 3-month one. So we're at the 3-month check-in. And I opened it up in a new tab. This is the way that the client will see it. So you'll want to run through this with like a fine-tooth comb to make sure it looks and feels exactly the way that you want it. But you'll notice here it's saying, have you experienced any changes to your income since the last time we spoke? Oftentimes that'll happen in 3 months and they might not let you know about it. Have your monthly expenses changed? Have you enrolled in or changed any employer benefits recently? That might be more of a November question. Are you still comfortable with the financial goals we set together? On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about your current plan? See, and every question has a complimentary free-form text box to go along with it. So if they want to expand, they can expand further, and just giving them that opportunity to put in any thoughts that are coming across their head as they are filling this out is really beneficial. Do you want a short follow-up call to review anything that was discussed? Yes or no? Any other comments you'd like us to know? And I feel like this final quick note that the AI generated as an output is redundant to that any other comments or concerns you'd like us to know question. So you might just consider deleting that one altogether. And assuming this is going out to both clients, the other client has a chance to fill it out as well, but most often you'll find that it's just a response you'll get from the couple as one. And then same thing here, you're going to go to that finish page and you're going to check it out. You'll see you'll notice the output from the AI made it a little bit bare here. So you might want to generate additional AI on that page to add things like your logo, your headshot, your team picture, your contact information, your signature, things like that. So it looks and feels a little bit warmer. But I think that is a great output. You'll notice it just took us a few seconds to go ahead and get that created. That prompt is there for you. So, continue to use just plain language to edit or adapt it to your firm and your office. And you'll be able to find it valuable to your firm. All right, Kimberly's asking, are you saving these templates to the template library? I think I would rather modify what you have created than create my own using AI. You know what? I haven't gotten that suggestion, and I will definitely take that back to our team and kind of go through our review process on this template before we make it available in the form library. But absolutely, if you find it valuable to have it there instead of generating it using AI, we're more than happy to do that. How do we move boxes around on the screen to reorganize them? So you can, when you hover over a box, there will be these 8 lines that kind of appear, and it'll have that arrow icon, and you'll just want to use that to kind of drag and drop things where you would want to see it instead. But great question. Okay, so it says, I'm unable to find the 3-month check-in. I can paste it in there for you, but if you go to the link, then you go down to the session 4. We're in session 4 today. That session 4 will open up the accordion, and you'll just want to copy this prompt, and I'll paste this in here. Let's see if we can edit that. Oh, okay. So the reason why it's not moving is you need to have a box to move it into. So let's say we want to move this box here right below this question. We would want to click on that box and create a new cell below it. So that way we could then take this box and drop it in. So you always want to create the box before you choose those dots to drop it into there. And then you could remove this if you prefer. But great question. All right. So the next thing, and it looks like some of the AI prompts, if you want to move away from the page, you could move away from the page and then go back to your templates. So if I go back to the My Templates page, and you'll usually find that the template was created, but you were just stuck on that screen. All right, so that is an option that you have for the 3-month check-in. And like I said, you might consider segmenting out your clients and sending that to your top clients as a cadence. And your B clients will get this next one that is going to be a 6-month check-in. And I feel like when I think about it, of who does relationship check-ins better than almost anyone is going to be hotel loyalty programs to me. And if you've ever, when you ever stay at, Marriott or Hyatt more than a few times, a few things start to happen. So they remember you asked for a high floor. They leave the pillow that you prefer, or someone noticed you ordered the same breakfast and, they start to see that. And they're not doing that just because they love you, which I'm sure they do, but they're doing it because they know that a customer who feels remembered is worth 4 times more than over their lifetime than one who doesn't. So they figured that out and they built systems around it. So your 6 month check-in is that system. And if you do this repeatedly at scale, then it's going to show that you're paying attention. And kind of at that 6 month mark is where things start to shift more quietly. Their debt might change, a life event might happen that they assume that you know about. And this form is going to ask them directly. So that way there's no assumption that's happening. And here's something worth knowing, and I'll paste in the study that this is coming from. But clients who feel their advisor communicates with them frequently are more than 3 times as likely to be comfortable with their financial plan than clients who don't. So the same plan, 3 times more comfortable, same performance, different experiences of feeling cared for. And we're all in the business for more business. So the check-in can also be that quiet business development conversation where if they mark yes to new accounts being open that you don't hold, you can start that conversation. If they flag a major life event, a business sale, an inheritance, a new grandchild, that's a planning opportunity. If they mention a job change, that's a 401(k) waiting to happen. And it's not just all fires to put out once your review happens. You can make it in digestible chunks throughout the year. And it's kind of a non-salesy way to discover what else you could be doing for this person. So you'll definitely want to, train your team to flag their responses. And then when you are reviewing it, you'll see what you should ask about. And on the referral side, if a client mentions a life event you help them navigate with, like you help them with a business sale, a divorce, a transition, that's your moment to just be like, we helped you through something really significant. If you know anyone else going through something similar, I'd love an introduction. And it's just a natural extension done that way. So if we go back to our data, our client data lifecycle guide, we're going to go to the 6 month check-in this time and copy this prompt. And then we'll go back to the AI builder and paste in this prompt this time. And from here, we're going to talk about the operational standpoint again, where, you might want to assign this cadence to your staff. And then as the advisor, you just review what's changed. In PreciseFP on the client's profile, there is little signifiers that will let you know when data has been changed. So you might be brought into the process at that point where you're just reviewing any information that was updated or changed. And then, your team can flag anything that was manually written out in the freeform text fields. But that'll help you actually run this cadence. So we'll go ahead and let that create. And I like to even just X out of it or go on to other pages. And once you go back to your templates area, it will be created. And do the same thing that we have been doing where we are running through it with a fine-tooth comb. The AI template creator is giving you a nice starting point, but you want to continue implementing the things that we've learned over these sessions where it is branding, make it your look, your feel, your colors, your logo, your headshot, your font. And then, even this message is a great start, but you can hyper personalize it a little further with just a few details that you know about them. And then here are the questions that the output created. So a lot of this is just yes or no questions. And that very last question is going to be a scale where, on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you rate your financial progress toward your primary goals? So the way that the output made it is it pre-selected no as the options. So they can go ahead and change it to yes if some of these things have changed. But this is a way to just take some of the things that you're addressing with them and put it in front of them in a yes or no format, and they can make any change or share any changes with you at this point. And same thing, that finish page, you can go ahead and customize that further as well. All right, let me just look at the questions here. Um, let me make this bigger. Thomas is asking, can you create a template from an Excel spreadsheet I use to capture information? So Thomas, what I'm suggesting in that case is to take your Excel spreadsheet, put it into like a Chat GPT or a Claude, and then ask Chat or Claude to make you a prompt based on your Excel spreadsheet. And be very clear, say, I want it in this exact order with these exact questions. I want it a professional tone or whatever. AI will provide you with that prompt, and then you would take that prompt and put it into our template builder. We have Neil's asking, does the end of the series exam allow for multiple attempts? Yes, you will have the chance to answer multiple times for the test. Grant says, can this template be sent via generic link that would require a client to log in to make their own specific link? You can. Yeah, what you would do is we talked about this in session 1, which is the web publisher feature. You would take that 3-month check-in and web publish it, where it would then create it as a link, and then you can mass distribute that out. Conrad, can any of these be automated to go out using Wealthbox? Are there specific triggers we can set to make it happen? So would it be through PreciseFP that you would be setting up those automations? I want to say that I can dig around using Zapier and see if there are some zaps that we can set up to make it happen automatically. But I did share feedback with our team that we would like to see a feature where these could be scheduled. So hopefully that might be something that would help. Tara says, once you create a form, are we able to turn it into a PDF or any type of printable format? You will. It won't be the prettiest PDF. If I go back over here to the form and I preview this out, you could choose print and save as a PDF, but you'll notice, the questions and the look and the feel gets adjusted a little bit there. All right. Diana says, is there a way to embed an intake form on our website or an email, or does it always have to be sent? Yes, exactly, Tara. What you would want to do, and I'll run through this quickly. You would want to go over to your templates and go to web published. And underneath web published, you would choose that plus sign and choose that template you would want to embed on your website or create as a link. Let's choose that 6-month check-in, and then it would allow you to choose, do you want it as a URL? And URLs can be pasted into most websites as well. Or maybe you want it as an iframe that would create the code for you to paste into your website. And then that form would now live on your website or as a link to share and broadcast emails. Um, do the templates automatically include the conditional logic to pull client information? Yes. What that means is, if I go over to accounts and I go to all accounts, once I'm ready to send that to somebody, let's say I want to send it to the Tully family, I can choose engage with a form and choose that form that I just created. And what this will do is it'll always pre-fill the form with any information that's on file for the family. So if we did, you'll notice Alex's name is pulled into there. And if there was any information here like that we've collected already, like their email, their address, their employer, things like that, it would pull it in for them to review. But great, great questions. All right. So we talked about the 3-month check-in. We talked about a 6-month check-in. This next one that we'll touch on very quickly is going to be in your form library already. So if you go to templates and you go to form library, it's going to be this one here called personal information review. And you'll notice this one is at 69.7% in popularity. So it is a form that a lot of offices find to be very valuable. And what this one is doing is, we're not building a form here using AI, but just in the conversation of checking in. This is something that I always suggest to use PreciseFP for. PreciseFP is amazing for onboarding, but I also think it's amazing for data maintenance. So you want to go ahead and build this form into your process as well, where 2 to 3 weeks before a review, you send them this pre-filled form and it'll put all the information that you have on file in front of the client, and they could either update anything that's missing or incorrect, and you would then receive those changes and be able to send it everywhere else. So if you imagine the doctor's appointment tomorrow, you show up, the doctor walks in, they look at your chart and they're like, so catch me up. What's been going on since we last spoke? Or you could imagine, 2 weeks before your appointment or a few days before your appointment, the practice sends you a message. It has your medical history already in it, your current medications, your current or last test results, and it just asks, has anything changed? And you confirm it, you flag the things that have changed, and you walked into the appointment with that conversation already handled. So which version of that doctor do you trust more? And that's what this annual review prep is doing. It puts what's on file in front of them, their beneficiaries, their goals, and asks that one question of, has anything changed? And at that point, they're confirming things so they're not re-entering. So same thing here, you can use AI to hyper personalize this form, but you'll notice through the data here, this form takes 2 minutes and 40 seconds to complete. And this one send covers that, information review before that actual meeting happens. So you'll just want to install this into your templates. So if you install this template, then you will go ahead and find it in your My Templates area. So if you go to My Templates, you'll find that personal information review here. And same thing, even though this is a pre-built template that comes in your form library, give it a once over and customize it if you see anything missing or incorrect. And you'll notice I've messed with this form previously to adapt it to my client Tom, who, likes the Phoenix Suns and bought a summer house, had a new grandchild, and you notice my message reflects all of that. So you can consider doing that before you send out your engagements as well. But once it's applied to a contact, and I'm sure it would be more helpful for me to go ahead and show that, I can apply this to Tom. And then it's just going to put all of that information in front of Tom for him to review and choose if anything is missing or incorrect. So if I edit this, it'll go ahead and take that form that I created and even hyper personalize and send it or pre-fill it with Tom's information. So you'll notice these questions that are really helpful. We're saying, have there been any recent changes? And they can choose yes, no, or no, but show me my information. And once they choose that, their information will pop out. And at that point, they can go ahead and make any changes. And same thing, has anything changed to your employment or income? They can just choose no, but show me on my information, and they'd be able to see what information is on file. So this is something that you could consider implementing as well. We didn't build this using AI. It is in your form library, but it is something that you can go ahead and build into your process. All right, let me see these questions. Amy says, my 6-month template that AI created had contact details and one question. Try it again, definitely, and it should help with that output. Tara says, remind me where to go to set up our company logo. That will be in your settings. If you go to your name and you go to your settings here for profile, the profile picture here is my photo, my headshot, but you could go ahead and change it. And for organization, if you go to your firm here, you could go ahead and make any organizational changes here. Like maybe you want a disclaimer to go on all of your emails. You can put that here. But great, great questions. Oh, yes. Kevin's asking for the add co-client button. Is that something that's pulling over from the CRM? And yes, that'll pull over from the CRM and pre-fill as well. All right, great, great questions. So this one that we just talked about is that personal information review. You might even add the risk tolerance questionnaire in there like we've showed in previous sessions, and even embed your calendar. Maybe you haven't even scheduled that time and date with them yet. You could embed your calendar in the risk tolerance questionnaire and see if any of those have changed since you last met. So once again, the recommended timing for sending something like this is going to be 2 to 3 weeks before your meeting. And you'll notice that when you do send it that far out, not 1 week or not one day, those completion rates will definitely increase because they don't feel rushed and skip it. Instead, they'll actually look at it. All right, now we'll get to my favorite part of the day, and it's going to be talking about feedback. So for your reviews and all of the services and products that you're offering, it's almost like a silent chamber where sometimes you don't really know how everything is being perceived and implemented. And this form that we're going to talk about can go out within 24 hours of your review. So definitely try to stick to that 24 hours after the review, not 3 days, not bundled into the next newsletter, but 24 hours so that meeting memory is still active. And instead of saying, please complete our feedback form, you could do something like, thank you for meeting with us, and little things like that, where it's like a thank you note, not a task, can help with that completion rate as well. So if we go back to our guide, we're going to go to the one here called client feedback. And we can copy this prompt and go back to our templates tab, choose my templates, click on the plus sign and choose generate using AI and paste that prompt in. And what it'll do is it'll take that prompt from the guide and create those questions in that exact order. All right. And same thing here, you might want to adjust it as you see fit, but it'll be a good starting point to flag any issues or spot any patterns, and we'll show how to pool the responses as well. So we'll give that some time here to go ahead and build what this one will look like. If we start this, you'll notice it is just a few questions here. I think it's 7 questions to be exact, but this is just asking different variations to how they feel the meeting has went. So overall satisfaction with today's meeting. And remember what I just talked about was sending this within 24 hours. If you do send this the next day, you're going to want to edit that from today to yesterday or overall satisfaction with our meeting or something like that so that date context is correct. Did the meeting cover all the questions or topics you want addressed? Did you feel understood and prioritized as a client during this meeting? What could we do better? I love that one because it's just a free form text field. How likely are you to refer a friend or family member to us? And may we follow up with you about your responses? So most of the time they might just select no follow-up needed, but in the case that there is anything that they want to discuss, those reach out methods are there for them. So we use the AI prompt builder to go ahead and build that. And definitely we suggest to send it out as soon as you can after that meeting. And what you can do from here is pull the last, 30 days of responses. You can group them by theme. You can find some of the most common issues. You can assign one fix to one owner on your team, and then you can report back next month and see whether it's improved or moved at all. And some offices even like to block, 30 minutes on the last Friday of every month, treat it like a client meeting. And the goal is never to fix everything, but you can have that goal of to fix one thing consistently, and then the next process will earn the next fix. And that's kind of how the best businesses in the world are built, and not in a complete redesign, but in a cadence that you can build like this. So same thing, once that meeting is completed and, all of the deliverables are shared and the meeting notes are shared, whatever, then you can choose to send a survey like this. You would same thing, just go to your accounts area and then go to the person that you want to send it to. Choose engage with a form and choose that form that you just created, and it'll go ahead and send this over to this person. And you could even send out those periodic reminders if you really want to get those results. It can kind of nudge them a little bit and give them that reminder to complete this. And make sure that you're editing the email, you're editing the branding and all of that, so that way it's perfect before you send it over. But the AI prompt is definitely going to give you a nice starting point. And then you can check on your engagements page to see the progress on these, which I love in comparison to, fillable PDFs where it's just out there in the world and you don't know what's out there or how far they are on those fillable PDFs. This page here is so helpful to show you what's out there and how far people are in the process. All right, let me just check the questions here. Michael says, where did you get that guide from? That is included with this session. I'll go ahead and paste that link into the chat so you have it as well. Clark says, can you talk more about the web publish? I imagine you could have a Calendly send an email automatically 24 hours after the meeting. So if the email included the URL to the form, how would that work? Yes. So if, Calendly is automatically sending meeting follow-up emails in that template, you could consider putting that web publish link in there. And then they would want to log in or have login credentials to PreciseFP so that way their name is connected to that survey response. In the client feedback form, how would you suggest adding in a Google review link? Oh, that's genius. Yes. I know there are some lawyers on LinkedIn that I've seen talk about this very well, where there is, a nice, clean legal way to ask for those Google reviews. But I would definitely, look on LinkedIn for any of those suggestions as well as, connect with the AI ChatGPT, Claude, and see if there are any best practices. All right, Rebecca's asking, can you show how to create a report with the feedback survey? And that is a really great segue. Let's jump right into that. So it's great to collect these responses, but I think it's even better to be able to see all of the responses in bulk and be able to make informed business decisions on them. So if we go to the templates on the left and choose My Templates, throughout this series, we have been creating reports using AI, but I like to just report or create this using a blank template. And so if we go to templates on the left, choose My Templates underneath Report Templates, you'll click on the plus sign and choose New Blank Template. Now you're going to want to choose the fourth option here because we're going to want to pull that form data into this report. So if we choose form engagement data, I'll go ahead and name this survey responses, and we'll just choose the survey client meeting feedback survey. And we'll just categorize this as a new report. So what we're doing here on this page is we're just naming the template. So this is like a three-step process, I would say. Your first step is to name the template. Your second step is to go in and customize it. And if we customize it, this is kind of the Excel sheet that it's giving you. So we'll want to build this out. The first thing I would always want to see is a text column of their name. So we'll go ahead and choose the contact's name here and create that. And then the next thing we would want to do is create all of those questions. So if we choose the questions here, let me find it. We'll choose on that engagement. Oh, okay, I'm on the wrong template. I chose the wrong template. Let me redo that. So if I, oops, choose new blank template, choose that fourth option for engagement data, we will find the correct one. And I think it's this one. And choose new, create. Then we'll go back to customizing this. And we could always help you build this out as well. But when I chose to add a new data source and I chose that client field, you'll notice all of those survey response questions appeared here. And you're just going to go one by one and choose to add all of these as new columns because it's going to take all of those responses from the survey and put it here for you. So we'll go ahead and create that. And I did forget to add the name onto this one. So we'll want to make sure that we add that name, that text field for name. And we'll choose the contact's name and create that. And it appeared here at the very end, but I would much rather see it here at the beginning as that first option. So that way I can see the name attached to the results. So this is your second step is to build the report, and we could always do this to follow up today's session as well. But your second step is to create the report in the order that you want to see it and the fields that you want to see it. And then the third step is to apply it to your contacts. So if you go to templates on the left, you'll want to go to find sorry, you'll not want to go to templates anymore. You're going to want to go to reports, your reports tab here, and go to my reports. And you're going to need to pull that report you just created here into my reports. So I think I called it feedback survey. And we'll go ahead and put that here. And now we did that three-step process. We named it, we created it with all the fields that we wanted. And now our third step is to pull it here into the My Reports area. And then we'll be able to download the report to the Excel sheet, or we'll just choose View Report and it'll pull in all of those responses. So what that'll do now is you'll be able to see all of those responses. I just have a few sample contacts and responses here, but you'll notice, who is answering in what way. We had a few neutrals here. The rest were satisfied. Did the meeting cover all of the questions? Yes, no. We have some varying responses there. Did you feel understood? Here's that free form text field. So we have some people saying it was the best ever. We have some people saying we could help their kids out better or more communication. And I love this one here. If we can point to this response here, where it is asking their referral likelihood. This is your NPS signal. So anyone below a 7 is worth a follow-up conversation, not to ask why, but just to check in, like, we got your feedback, we really appreciate it. Is there anything we can do better for you? That call can take 4 minutes, but what it does for the relationship can definitely last years. So the framework is, 0 to 6 are detractors, 7 to 8 passives, 9 to 10 are promoters. So any detractors could warrant a nice follow-up. And at that point, don't send a form. You might want to just do a call at that point. And you'll notice that may we follow up is here. And, this isn't a data point, it's more of an invitation. So every yes here is going to warrant a client that wants contact with you. And they just told you that explicitly. So, definitely take them up on it. And that's what the feedback survey actually is. It's not a satisfaction score so much as like a compliance checkbox. And it's like a live map of where your client relationships stand right now and where the opportunities are. So you might consider starting to implement something like this into your process. And like I said, just once a month for 30 minutes, that last Friday of the month, block it like a client meeting and pull this data up, and don't do all of the fixes at once. Just do one fix at a time and make one person the owner of that specific fix, and then that'll compound over time. All right. Oh, thank you, Amber Lee, for answering Tara. Oh, thank you, Michael. Michael said this is going to change our entire process. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Can the AI help us audit and fix templates we created from scratch? Yes, you can. You can have AI fix things. We covered that in some previous sessions as well, where if we go to My Templates and you pull up that form that you want to edit or alter, you'll find those AI icons throughout. So if you want to edit this page, you could click on Update Using AI and just say in plain language what or how you want it updated, and it'll make those changes for you. And I always say this in every session, but I even like to export all of the let's say I build that survey, I would then export that to a PDF and then upload it to a ChatGPT or Claude and say, based on this prompt, this is the output. And ChatGPT and Claude will continue to improve that prompt. And you could just, create a new um, generate using AI form, paste in that new prompt, and see what the output is there as well. Ooh, yes. Clark is saying, can you export the data from those feedback forms and then feed that to ChatGPT or Claude and run some analytics? Exactly correct. I feel like you could do a lot with the data from there and even have a running list of those suggestions or best practices to implement some things to address those concerns. So great, great question. Let's see. Will the prompt be somewhere on the website? So right now, the prompt guide is kind of exclusive to you guys as registrants of today's session. But we can definitely try to turn these into actual forms that you could find in your form library. Yes. So Leah's asking if you're doing the web publishing and an existing client, will they be prompted to log into their portal? And yes, if they have not created login credentials, it'll prompt them to create them, and then they'll be able to use their login credentials to connect that web publish form to their data. So that way their responses will collect onto their profile and it'll pre-fill everything as well. But great, great questions. So I'm sure today was a lot of information. We created 4 forms, 3 month, 6 month annual review, and then the feedback survey. So 4 forms, 4 moments. Um, you'll notice that we're mimicking other industries when we're implementing some of these things. Amazon built a $2 trillion business on knowing what you wanted before you asked. Your dentist keeps you out of pain by texting you twice before your appointment and asking if, anything has changed since your last visit. So now you have the same system for the most important financial relationship in your clients' lives. So try doing this cadence. I feel like the advisors that start to implement this cadence aren't doing more work. They're doing the same work, but earlier, right? Because a 2 minute check-in at 3 months prevents a 60-minute fire drill at month 11. So this cadence might not necessarily add more work, but it moves to cost less. And before next week, you can try to send the 3 month check-in to the most recent client you onboarded. If they flag anything, definitely respond within 48 hours. And we could talk about it in our last and final session next week, happening on Thursday, same time. Session 5 will definitely be the most advanced session in the series. You're going to name a life event out loud and watch a form appear, and you could build or you could bring some of the most common milestones that you've dealt with as an office. But if you go back to our client data lifecycle guide here, we tried to cover a lot of them. And in that session, we're not going to be able to cover every single life event. But we'll let you guys choose some of the ones that will show live in the session. Let me just check on these questions. So, William, where can I find the previous sessions to rewatch? So, if you are on precisefp.com, we do have a resource center that is on our website. So, if I go back here, let me just open up just the default web page. There is a tab here that says resources. And if you go to the tab that says webinars, you'll be able to see all of the previous sessions here you could click on and access. And let's see. Alicia says, do clients have to use the password function to access tie in their previously provided information? So that is true. If you're using the web publisher link, they have to use login credentials to access their old information or link it to their profile. That PIN option that is sent via email or text doesn't work unless you send it right to their profile. Using the platform, not through the mass web published option. Oh, great tip. Conrad says if you click copy prompt versus copying the prompt by copy and paste, that can help with the results. So great, great suggestion. Oh, okay. So we're finding that copy prompt isn't copying the whole prompt. So Conrad's suggestion is when you're on the prompt guide, let's see if I could get back to it. When you're on the prompt guide here, instead of choosing copy prompt, copy and paste it manually to make sure that the whole prompt is getting selected. All right, so hopefully today's session added some value to your office, and I look forward to next week where we will talk about those life milestones. And to follow up next week, you will get that link for the 15 question quiz that you can take multiple times. And if you pass the quiz, then you will immediately get your certification. So I look forward to next week. Thank you all so much for joining me and have a great rest of the day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.